So I'm happy that you're here, that you decided to join today in the Transition Doula. It's a very, exciting project for me. It's what I've discovered. So I'm happy that you're part of it too. And we going on further exploration of many aspects that come with an idea of Transition Doula. And so using today one lesson of A Course in Miracles. What is, in fact, the question, what is life? Last week we looked at what is death, and now it's like, in fact, we get an answer to what is life. And this is really beautiful. It's one of the 167 of A Course in Miracles that we use. Now, today something happened too, because I'm, preparing another chapter, you could say, or another part of the book that I'm putting together, the Mortimer's Guide to Enlightenment. So the Transition Doula is one of it, and the other one is then the Initiate. And today I posted a podcast or a reading of Joel Goldsmith's book, The Parenthesis in Eternity, a special chapter, which is like the meaning of initiation. And this actually is chapter 20 of the book, and this actually is a beautiful bridge, you could say, to what we're about to start in December, which is the initiate, the steps on the pathless path. And that came in so nicely today. We're not going to listen to that today, but I just wanted to let you know that it's available. You can listen to it, and it's very inspiring for exactly the point where we find ourselves in, also in being, immersed in the Transition Doula. You have probably no idea what I'm talking about, but it will be clear as soon as you hear the recording or hear the reading. It also has an overlap of what we're discovering today or exploring today, which has everything to do with, in fact, the ascension ladder, if you want. It's like the ascension ladder you could see as a vertical ladder of ascension, coming closer to the end of time, so to your Christ consciousness, to your enlightenment, to your self-realization. So you go step by step higher up, you could say, and the miracles, the Course in Miracles is an essential step in all of that, since what you discover is, in fact, the possibility of miracles, of having a moment of, transcending out of time, literally out of time, into out of time, into eternity for just a moment. This is just a holy instant, as we call it, or a moment of communication, as Joel would say, a moment of communion, even more close. So that's that part. So the ascension ladder, as I call it, is one way to look at it, but it's actually helpful because in contact with others, like we are going to do today too, is like in contact with others, you discover not everyone has the same experiences, the spiritual experiences, or you're like, where are you in your time ascension, you could say. Where do you find yourself in that? Now, it's not necessary to deeply discover or deeply research it, or like, okay, I have to measure it where I'm actually at. That's not necessary either. It is just more like an awareness of what is it exactly that I'm dealing with here? Who is this other guy? Who is my buddy? Who is my other my partner in this, or who is actually like-minded with me in this, that I actually see that there's a resonance that is helpful for both of us. And how does it actually work? How do I get in contact? Or how does this work? Since you discover on your path, on your ascension ladder, that you, at a certain point, you will meet others, like we do here in the transition doula. You meet others, so it's the moment has come that you're not doing this journey alone. In that sense, like there are partners in this, there are co-workers, you could say. There are the ones that love to support you, but for sure, and this is a good realization too, is like my brother is actually the one who reminds me of that I'm doing this. And that can be in very different ways. Like even when I see your face, I'm reminded of I'm in the middle of a transformational process, which has nothing to do, in fact, with say trying to sustain myself as a human being. No, it has to do with ascending or with integrating or with awakening. That occurrence is actually taking place in me. And the ones that are now with me in this are actually reminding me of that, just by their presence. Just how it's like, oh yeah, that's you. Yeah, of course, hey. And then immediately there's the connection of, yeah, you represent that for me as my, say, mighty companion in this story. In this awakening episode, say the last chapter, you could say, of whatever that's going to be. But see how essential that is. Like that's why you recognize each other. Hey, I know you. Yes, I know you. We're at the end of time, and so the great advent of awakening is occurring to us, and we have recognized it. We have heard a calling that is inspiring us to go further on this path and more firmly committed to it, step by step, and see that there are possibilities opening up, but also that there are certain ways of discovering that you haven't used before as a human being. Like a human being tries not to be in contact too much with others, or has an idea about, like, okay, within certain borders I can work with persons. And here it is like, no, actually I'm going to experiment a little bit. Like my brother is my also sort of guinea pig in discovering. And so having the same purpose would already be a big step to admit one thing, but also to discover that you have a single purpose and that you share that. And that makes you incredibly happy, because it talks a lot easier. A human being would have a different purpose as his neighbor. Like, I want a big garage and big garden, and I don't want the leaves of my neighbor in my garden. That's a separate goal from the neighbor, who has actually the same goal but related to the neighbor. So they are mirrors, but they don't see that they have a common goal. And with, say, being in this awakening process, you discover that the one goal of waking up, of allowing someone to go through this whole undoing process, say, calculating in that he sometimes can be a bit weird, and that he can be very emotional, so sensitive, or so explosive, or so who knows what, so quiet, so different, you could say. But since you recognize that in yourself too, you can work with that. You allow that. Like, it's a big spectrum of behavior and of response that you are allowing, just because you recognize you have the same goal, and where you go through is a unique process of undoing, in which you discover something that has nothing to do with your humanhood, but it is very, there are steps in that are very scary to discover, to go through, to feel, and that's huge. So there's a real forgiving attitude that can be very helpful. In fact, allowing just that to occur, however it is presenting itself. And now you, in this process, has at the same time also a responsibility of being aware that this is going on and accepting your brother as he goes through this process. And that's huge. That's also a huge step, because that since you're in fact coming closer to recognizing each other and going deeper into that process, say, in fact, allowing yourself to show more of yourself in this, that becomes more and more intense, in fact. And it does not necessarily have to look like this, but speaking from my own experience, this is what happens to most of us in the process. So whether you have your daily, say, partner or co-worker, however you want to call it, with a dedicated goal of transformation, or whether you meet someone once a week or once who knows how many years, maybe once a year, maybe twice a year, that's fine too. It's but the recognition is there, and also the allowance of going through the process together, sharing on a deep level of understanding that also, say, puts you next to one another in receiving it for yourself, but putting yourself next to one another. In fact, to hold a hand, to walk this path together in that sense. So I see the beauty of that, and I love to see that happen. And however that develops, or however that can open up, you become more and more creative in letting that occur. Now, you can call that becoming a teacher, or it's like having a teaching demonstration function, because by you allowing, by your transparency, by you allowing to put that out there, so to speak, to give that away, you in fact invite anyone else to do the same. So you have your responsibility in that, in a very positive sense, speaking and in fact in an opening sense. Like, you have the goal of demonstrating your freedom right here, not limited by social laws, not limited by anything else. At least this is the process where you go to. So that might take a moment. Now here, the ascension ladder, I'll come back to that of course later. It is like the miraculous part of it is that you allow yourself to slip out of time, literally. In that, it is a quantum healing moment. That quantum healing moment is in fact a collapse of time, like some time collapses in that. How much time, that depends on the occurrence itself, because it's not the doing of you, because miracles, in that sense, receiving a miracle is not by your conscious decision or by your conscious doing. Now it's a spontaneous occurrence, but you can open yourself up for it by becoming miracle-minded, you could say, which is a state of openness, receptivity, but also a moment of giving to your brother. You want to give him everything, like you're completely open. You're loving your brother as yourself, in fact. Then your mind easily becomes miracle prone, and with that, something can occur. Now, what occurs is a moment that is not ruled by time, that is out of time, that actually you see that like a part of the story that you found yourself in, that you saw as your timelines, a part of that is cut out almost, like it collapses. It's a real quantum healing moment, you could say. It's like the particle collapses into a wave of love. And this speed up that is brought about can be tremendous. So this is my experience with it, and if I look back as far as I can, if I look back, like you save yourself time by allowing the miracle. It's really like that. It's like certain scenarios you don't go in, and no, you don't have to go in that because it simply is gone. You have no. The option is just disappearing. That is possible. And I hope this sounds a bit like concrete to you too. So there's certain scenarios are being cut out. It's like it collapses. It saves you time of human suffering, like tremendous. If I look back, like I said, that has been such a change that if I would do this on my human way of the thing that I always have done and trying to figure out and trying to research and trying to do this to make it better, to practice and to bring that about, like then it would have taken thousands of years probably to do the same as what has occurred. And this is the offering continuously here, what I'm presenting, also in the transition doula, but in any occasion that we come together, because it is more like by you knowing that it's a possibility, it can also occur to you. So that is so essential. If you say like, well, everything goes so slow, it's probably going to take forever. Well, if that is your programming, then what do you expect will happen? That will be your scenario. Oh, I'm not good enough to do this, to receive this, blah, 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 blah. Like, well, luckily it's not depending on your doing. It's only, say, depending on your yourself becoming open to receive the alternative, the miracle. Now that is your speed up. So we use this continuously, like I said. Now one of the lessons, the miracle lessons that we listen to today is the 167. There's one life and that I share with God. We used it to in the way of, and we're still in it, but it's like we used it in the way of gratitude. I think we listened to it one time before, but it really doesn't matter. It's a great lesson, and we're going to use it now to listen to it. There's one life, and that I share with God. There are not different kinds of life, for life is like the truth. It does not have degrees. It is the one condition in which all that God created share. Like all his thoughts, it has no opposite. There is no death because what God created shares his life. There is no death because an opposite to God does not exist. There is no death because the Father and the Son are one. In this world there appears to be a state that is life's opposite. You call it death. Yet we have learned that the idea of death takes many forms. It is the one idea which underlies all feelings that are not supremely happy. It is the alarm to which you give response of any kind that is not perfect joy. All sorrow, loss, anxiety, suffering and pain, even a little sigh of weariness, a slight discomfort, or the merest frown, acknowledge death, and thus you deny you live. You think that death is of the body, yet it is but an idea irrelevant to what is seen as physical, a thought in the mind. It can be then applied as mind directs it, but its origin is where it must be changed, if change occurs. Ideas leave not their source. The emphasis this course has placed on that idea is due to its centrality in our attempts to change your mind about yourself. It is the reason you can heal. It is the cause of healing. It is why you cannot die. Its truth established you as one with God. Death is the thought that you are separate from your Creator. It is the belief conditions change, emotions alternate because of causes you cannot control, you did not make, and you can never change. It is the fixed belief ideas can leave their source and take on qualities the source does not contain, becoming different from their own origin, apart from it in kind as well as in distance, time, and form. Death cannot come from life. Ideas remain united to their source. They can extend all that their source contains, in that they can go far beyond themselves, but they cannot give birth to what was never given them. And they are made, so will their making be. As they were born, so will they then give birth. And where they come from, there they will return. The mind can think it sleeps, but that is all. It cannot change what is its waking state. It cannot make a body nor abide within a body. What is alien to the mind does not exist because it has no source. For mind creates all things that are, and cannot give them attributes it lacks, nor change its own eternal mindful state. It cannot make the physical. What seems to die is but a sign of mind asleep. The opposite of life can only be another form of life. As such, it can be reconciled with what created it, because it is not opposite in truth. Its form may change, it may appear to be what it is not. Yet is mind awake or sleeping? It is not its opposite in anything created, nor in what it seems to make when it believes it sleeps. God creates only mind awake. He does not sleep, and his creations cannot share what he gives not, nor make conditions which he does not share with them. The thought of death is not the opposite of thoughts of life. Forever unopposed by opposites of any kind, the thoughts of God remain forever changeless, with the power to extend forever changelessly, but yet within themselves, for they are everywhere. What seems to be the opposite of life is merely sleeping. When the mind elects to be what it is not, and to assume an alien power which it does not have, a foreign state it cannot enter, or a false condition not within its source, it merely seems to go to sleep a while. It dreams of time, an interval in which what seems to happen has never occurred. The changes wrought are substanceless, and all events are nowhere. When the mind awakes, it but continues as it always was. Let us today be children of the truth, and not deny our holy heritage. Our life is not as we imagined it. Who changes life because he shuts his eyes, or makes himself what he is not because he sleeps and sees in dreams an opposite to what he is? We will not ask for death in any form today, nor will we let imagined opposites to life abide even an instant where the thought of life eternal has been set by God himself. His holy home we strive to keep today as he established it, and wills it be forever and forever. He is Lord of what we think today, and in his thoughts, which have no opposite, we understand there is one life, and that we share with him, with all creation, with their thoughts as well, whom he created in a unity of life which cannot separate in death and leave the source of life from where it came. We share our life because we have one source, a source from which perfection comes to us, remaining always in the holy minds which he created perfect. And as we were, so are we now and will forever be. A sleeping mind must waken as it sees its own perfection mirroring the Lord of life so perfectly it fades into what is reflected there. And now it is no more a mere reflection. It becomes the thing reflected, and the light which makes reflection possible. No vision now is needed, for the awakened mind is one with that knows its source, itself, its holiness. There's one life, and that I share with God. All right, so thank you so much for joining in this lesson. That is so beautiful, this beautiful lesson. So it's like an invitation to melt into it, in fact, to come to this place inside yourself where you can feel what it says. And always say the ascension ladder is going up, seems to be, but actually going down deeper into yourself. And coming to the openness, in fact, like deep in your belly, however you want to call it, deep in yourself, where you can feel this. And allow yourself to be vulnerable, open, to receptive, and all the beautiful terms we use for it. But the action is the action immediately is offering space for light to come in, for going into a deeper layer of light and love and of birth, you could also say. I just mention everything that's obvious. I always do that. So here, in the last probably 5 days, I had daily encounters with someone who did the transition Doula, and the individual trajectory, individual project. And so we met, say, 4 times, 1.5 hours. And some of that was actually very useful to discover that I feel like, well, I can share some of the dialogue that was going on, just as an example, in fact, of, yeah, this is where this is about. This is what we're doing, you know, and it's always intriguing to do this in a dialogue form. Yeah, and so let's listen to that. So this specific part is then, I give it, what was it? Oh yeah, temporary learning devices. Because just like this is a temporary learning device, this meeting, this class, there's more to it. And so I'd like to share that with you.
The thing is, okay, like everything's subjective. I don't know. It's like there's always this thing about what if I'm deluded or mistaken.
Yeah, you are. You are. Up to the point that you're in the realm of knowing, you are deluded. It is true.
So how do I discriminate between true and untrue?
Total
Genuine, not
release.
genuine?
You cannot distinguish between that. You tried to figure it out and it didn't work. So it's like you have to resign as your own teacher. That kind of thing. It's like, no, there's no say figuring it out on your part. No, the total release of ideas makes you see that you're not identified with, that you no longer need to be identified with your ideas or your capacity to do anything. In fact, admitting that for you to wake up is absolutely impossible. It's a total impossible activity. And in that, it becomes certain that will be your awakening. Like, it's totally impossible. If you think you have any contribution to that, to making it possible, then you still try to do something that you cannot do. That makes sense. Like, it's impossible. That's why it's certain.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, good luck.
Oh,
So what
you
are
know,
we doing here? What are we doing here?
no, but the thing is, what would be good about these discussions, such discussions and such things, is that at least we are honestly trying to do something about it. We have people out there
Hmm.
who just blindly follow organized religion or conventional religion, or
Yeah,
we have people who
yeah,
have abandoned them
yeah,
and just doing whatever they want, coming up with excuses
yeah,
to satisfy their own egos.
yeah.
And then, but honestly, have they, like, search, honestly, and then
Did it
come to
have
a
any
conclusion?
effect? Yeah, did it have any effect?
Yeah,
No.
nothing. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
less. What was it all about? Even
yeah,
those who rebel against organized religion, so what?
yeah,
They are
yeah,
also stuck in some other ego thing.
yeah. Well, they're still looking for it in a place where it cannot be found.
Yeah.
And then you say like, yeah, you have to look inside, but the way that you see yourself, you don't have to look inside because that's not where it is either.
Because we are talking about a location, but there is
Hmm.
no location.
No, no, that's
There is no
right.
location.
Yeah. So if you come to the point where you can see that, then everything starts to make sense. But how are you going to explain that to anyone? It's not
Yeah.
explainable. So it's an experience, a universal experience. Yeah.
But okay, like this thing about an experience, but isn't an experience or an intuition still something finite and something, I don't
Yeah,
know.
absolutely. Absolutely. It's finite.
Yeah, so it's
It's a
like,
glimpse.
okay,
It's a glimpse, temporary. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
okay. Because although I've come across many right teachings where they say that the superiority of intuition, over thinking. But then I was thinking, okay, yeah, thinking is finite, but so is intuition.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah,
How
yeah,
is intuition,
yeah.
I don't know, infinite? I mean, it's not infinite, you know.
No.
It's just a glimpse, in other words,
Yeah,
that's
it's a
all.
glimpse. It's a temporary, say, upliftment or temporary shift into invisibility or eternality for just a moment, and you jump back in time because, in fact, it has to do with your starting point is consciousness. So you return back to it, whether that's a say mind-body consciousness where you have a physical appearance that you see as yourself, or not. That doesn't even matter. So that's yeah, and then um, so that's interesting to take a look at because it's like the next thing is here. Let me see if I can find that. It's like the yeah. In fact, everything is used to stay in this process a little bit longer. Like it is not for you to completely resurrect or disappear out of this setup here. So this is what you see in the Course in Miracles. It is being said many times. It's like once you have an experience of something else, the immediate thing that will happen is that you're in fact being used to bring more light into your dream, to bring light here, so that darkness will disappear. It's like we're uniting the sonship. That's why Jesus was always teaching about a brother. You're gonna save your brother. You're gonna be there for your brother. Now this is in fact the also temporary, of course. It's like no, we're done with the job, so to speak. If whole humanity or whole humankind is awake, and this place disappears in laughter. But the uniting the sonship is then, yeah, once you have experience, you start to give it away. That's why we do the doula, transition doula training, so to speak. And it's like to give yourself away to your brother and be of service. Now, being of service is not determining what is going to happen. but actually being supportive in a way that is not by your definition, but that's going to be given to you. That's you can say like, yeah, what's your hurry? So enjoy every step. And now, okay, you have heard. Now you have glimpses. Now you have this. Now you have that. Okay, why not share it with your brother and see what happens if something occurs like that to him that set you free from your limitations. Now you're going to give that away and see that he gets out of it too. Or, it's like not for the effect, not for, no, but it's more like in humanity of 40,000 years of humanhood, not so very long, but quite long. So there was an incredible nightmare going on in discovering that everything can just disappear, can die, can lack, can disease, can do all kinds of things. Now we come at the end of the 40,000 years of a cycle, and coming to the surface of, hey, wait a minute, there's something else going on here. There's an alternative to this, and nobody can stop you from experiencing that in the end. So this is the time, this is the place. It's a great awakening going on, in fact. Like, look at how much available it is, and yeah, okay, say 95% or more is still just considering the ideas, and some take another step to actually come into the direct experience of what is being shared. Great. But see, it's not that I do this for the purpose of setting everyone free. No, I just recognize the pain in my brother and say like, hey, that's not necessary. Your pain is my pain, but there's a way to get out of this. You will have to stop pretending that you're you. For one moment. So stop pretending. Stop pretending that you are you. Wow. But yeah, so what am I going to be then if I stop pretending that I'm me? What happens when I stop pretending it? I will become me. I will become an authentic me that I always was and recognize as myself. So there's no loss in it to let go of your temporary beliefs about yourself, is what I'm saying. And that demonstration of that is very helpful for anyone to see. Like, that's why I'm here. And that's why it's like, yeah, I'm still myself. Yeah. I'm being used more and more and more. And here, this is how that looks. I'm just totally myself. Everything, it's so specific that everything that is really me, as I know myself, even in my human characteristics, you could say, everything is being used. You could say that was already the instrument, and you have identified it as if you were the controller and the manager and the player of the instrument, but that wasn't the case. No, you're the instrument. Now let the player play. Let this breath of life play this instrument and see what happens. That's the real adventure in discovering what it actually means and what opens up if that occurs. It brings you beyond all limitation. And to in fact, be in the middle of that and allowing that to expand in yourself, in your experience of yourself, is just a total adventure. That's why I call this too, is like explorations of the transition doula. So no matter who you meet, this will always, in that sense, work. If one is open, anything can happen. So that's really beautiful. All right, so now coming back to our doula training, you could say, is this. I want to share with you another, part of the syllabus, and then we go to our exercise with our body, because that's also a part. and there are presentations, so we're quite busy still. But this was essential to share. This is the syllabus, and I say that just to give it a name. So here's the second meeting. That's really great. We're coming to that in a second. But the last time that we came together, we actually didn't talk about what is a doula. Where does that word come from? Now, here it is. You might have read it already in the syllabus. Wikipedia helps us out. A doula is from the ancient word female slave, doula. Now, that's not covering it for us. So here is another definition. Is a non-medical professional who provides guidance for the service of others who support another person, the doula's client, through a significant health-related experience such as childbirth, miscarriage, induced abortion or stillbirth, or as well non-reproductive experiences such as dying. A doula might also provide support to clients, partners, family and friends. So that's the general Wikipedia definition. Now I translated that a little bit to a modern day, you could say, or late, a modern day doula. The transition doula could be described as a willing servant of the divine, to be present and supportive in a transition in consciousness, whether of him or herself or anyone else. Whether this is a transition to a non-physical plane, what you could call death, or transitions during awakening experiences as a relinquishment in ego misidentification. A transition is to a non-physical plane, one could call casting off the physical form, physical death or relinquishment of body identification, and transitioning into a different level of experience in consciousness. Transitions during the awakening could be called dark night of the soul, or eventually dying daily, and by doing so, transitioning into a different level of experience as ascension or resurrection, or vice versa. So how to become a transition doula? In this series we will discover where you find yourself in climbing up the ladder of end of time, like the ascension ladder. By your experiences of light and love, you grow your conscious certainty in the guiding support of light and love. This will relinquish ideas of self-doubt, fear, there was a typo there, self-doubt, fear. Most important at the beginning of the new explorations of the transition doula is the releasing the whole idea of becoming someone with a certain function. You're not going to become a transition doula in that sense. So how to become a transition doula? By not becoming it, but letting it occur. Okay, I'll leave this for now. Go out of this. And in a minute we come to the rest, like the exercise for the bodies. So I'm going to come back to this. So there's the becoming, in fact, is not like, okay, I do this course, then I'm a doula. No, that doesn't work like that. In consciousness, it doesn't work like that, because in consciousness we the basis is recognition, certainty, and all this, and the certainty is given. So the more you can open for the certainty by admitting your own uncertainty, or in fact, like, I of my own self can do nothing, this attitude will open up your consciousness for a great certainty where suddenly everything is possible. This is really essential. But to bring it back to, okay, where is my daily experience in my certainty and how I experience my part, my place in the out of time ladder or the ascension ladder? How do I experience my certainty? Am I actually experiencing listening to a voice, guiding, following guidance? Am I asking for it? Am I in communication with the Holy Spirit, and do I receive answers in a way that I can understand and can receive it? Is that an open communication? Or do I need to learn that first? Like, do I need to get into the possibility that that is actually, say, for me there? So these are all things that will put you, in fact, in the place where you find yourself. And that's perfectly all right. Like I said, everything is being used. In fact, every new experience that you have will offer you possibilities to share that experience. By staying alert, by knowing that that is the case, that by that you strengthen it in yourself and in others, the idea that you share. So to listen, for instance, to a lesson like there's one life and that I share with God. If I share that idea with you, you can feel the comfort of that. Like in the reading, you could feel something is occurring. You could feel the certainty. Yeah, there's a certainty that comes to you that comforts you too. So that does something with you, in other words. Now that is an important example of this is how it grows. Now, to bring it back to for instance, because we're talking doula work too, imagine that you're on a deathbed. You have a relationship, like a certain mutual trust to one another. And suddenly you come up with the idea, like I always have my little book with me wherever I go. And I say, I invite the person who is there. So I have something that really comforts me to read. Would you allow me to read a little bit of that to you? Because I feel that I really, if you feel that you want to do that, you should definitely do that. Now this one can say like, no, I have no interest in that. Or they might have interest in it. Just as a comforting, say, extension of yourself, you start to read the review of the first 50 lessons of A Course in Miracles. Maybe one lesson, maybe two, but there's a real input there that can help someone being inspired of coming into peace with the place and the moment in time that one is finding himself or herself. So that's why I'm saying that. It's like that can be such an incredible gift. Simple things, it might be the Bible or it might be who knows what. Whatever comforts them is whatever brings anyone into a state of peace of mind is welcome. Now that's really something else. But I love to share that since this you get your opportunities to share, and just like we do with our body too. It's like, how does that work with the body? How can I use contact with my brother, in fact, to get the best out of that? Now, this is one of the things I like to share here. I got all my attributes available here today. Here, what happens is this. What can I ask my body to let him or her share his inspiration? What did your body just discover? For instance, these can be questions that you ask each other. What would your body want to know more about? Like, what is really on his mind to discover more about? Now, that can be really something. What helps your body to melt and come to a creative openness? I just mentioned these. It's like, what can I ask my body to let him share his inspiration? For instance, what I did with the one that I did the doula individual traject with is give me send to me 5 expressions that you have recently read that really are so inspiring to you. So that always opens something up if someone does that. Or I just mentioned this as an example, of course. Of what did you just discover? Or what do you want to know more about? Not that I'm going to tell you about that, but I'm just curious, what what is it that you are really looking for? What do you think you need at this point? And then what helps you to melt, to release, to let go of your self, in fact, to come to a creative openness in which miracles are possible. These questions that I just asked is more like for inspiration to see what is possible to share this with one another. So use it if you want or not, that's fine too. It is more like be aware that you have all the opportunities to come into a different kind of contact that you're not used to with human beings, for instance, or with the ones that you have discovered so far. So here's a real opportunity to come to a new way of finding each other in inspiration.